The Kabar-Shan, Iran's most recent ballistic missile, is what you are witnessing descend over the Israeli city of Tel Aviv, a weapon designed to scatter between 20 and 50 submunitions throughout a target zone at once instead of carrying a single warhead, making it nearly hard for traditional defensive systems to eliminate it before it finishes its purpose. The construction of the ANFPS-132 early warning radar, which is used by U.S. Space Forces in Qatar, cost $1.1 billion. It was the most potent radar installation in the Middle East. Since Iranian rockets have now totally destroyed it, I purposefully use the past tense. Iranian Shahed drones are now attacking Dubai, the most globally recognized symbol of affluence and connectivity in the Gulf, on a daily basis in quantities that surpass the interception capabilities of the systems put in place to stop them. American embassies are closing one after another throughout the Middle East. The Nimitz-class USS Abraham Lincoln, after Tehran claimed to have fired missiles at the aircraft carrier, which is estimated to be worth $7 billion, it was moved out of Iranian striking range. Regardless of the official story, the repositioning is a reality that speaks for itself, even though Washington disputes that the carrier was damaged. Iran is defending itself against the most militarily strong country in modern history in just 1 week. It most likely won't prevail in a traditional conflict, yet it is proving that it won't give up on its own terms. And this is the question that requires a thoughtful response. How on earth is that possible? What does Iran have that the United States' sophisticated military, precision weapons, artificial intelligence systems, and strategic leadership overlooked when they decided to take action? On February 28, when the United States and Israel began their joint operation against Iran, the world likely assumed that the results would be measured in hours. There was no longer any leadership. The most resolute enemy of the nation would undoubtedly give up. However, during the course of the next week, something occurred that truly shocked the global analytical community. Iran refused to give up. Iran's retaliation was meticulous, systematic, and strategically coherent to the extent that it appeared to have been prepared far in advance of the initial strike. One by one, it attacked American bases in Israel and the Gulf states. And that fact necessitates a basic question regarding what the operation's designers truly knew about the enemy they were deciding to confront. Something that was not a secret holds the key to the solution. Iran has spent 40 years developing one of the world's most sophisticated, economical, and structurally sound drone and missile systems. And even before a single shot was fired during this conflict, the scope, depth, redundancy, and subsurface infrastructure of that program were made public. Get Froome Report subscriptions. The strategic and technological architecture of Iran's military capabilities, which the mainstream media repeatedly fails to convey with the depth this moment demands, is what we are about to walk through. Therefore, turn on all notifications right now. In March 2025, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps released a video that shocked international defense analysts. It disclosed more than just a missile program. It exposed complete missile subterranean towns and kilometers-long tube networks. Each missile is positioned on a separate launch pad beneath Iranian soil. The number of these tunnel complexes, the kilometers of subterranean infrastructure that have been built, and the number of launch platforms that are currently in use are all unknown to anybody outside of Iran. It is known that Iran started constructing this subterranean architecture in 1984 and has continued to do so ever since. To comprehend the present, one must grasp this timeline. Iran used drones and rockets in this conflict's initial days were not its main weaponry. They were purposefully selected from aged inventory, according to some defense analysts. Older systems created especially to achieve a single strategic goal: empty Israel's and the United States interceptor stockpiles. The actual attack was not the initial wave. It was a prelude to the actual assault. Perhaps the most crucial aspect of this fight is its economics, which are disastrous in their simplicity, things Western viewers are not expected to comprehend. Iran was producing and using drones that cost between $20 and $200. The rockets it launched occasionally cost between $100,000 and $500,000 to construct. Conversely, the interceptors used to stop them, THAAD missiles, Patriot interceptors, and AR-3 systems, cost at least $1 million per, with some systems costing up to $15 million. Additionally, because Iran was firing missiles and drones in saturated swarms. 2 or 3 more interceptors are required to be fired in pursuit, even if one projectile was missed on the initial intercept attempt. The cost-to-cost ratio was not competitive. It was far from competitive. The United States and its allies were spending between $20 and $28 to eliminate Iran's danger for every dollar it spent placing it in the air. According to American defense strategist Kalen Crook, when Iran launches a drone that costs as little as $1, the cost of neutralizing a defensive response was between $20 and $28. Iran had a precise understanding of this economic equation. Fighting a military campaign was not the only thing involved. It was waging a campaign of economic attrition on the world's most costly defense architecture. According to a Bloomberg article, following the initial wave of Iranian attacks, Qatar informed the U.S. in private that Patriot interceptor stockpiles would run out in 4 days if Iran continued to shoot drones and missiles at the same rate. Days after which everything would completely get out of control. Officially, Qatar then declared that there had been no such communication and that there were still enough defensive missiles on hand. Any ongoing battle will always involve accusations and counterclaims. However, interceptor depletion's fundamental mathematical fact is not a story. It is a limitation imposed by engineering. To comprehend the true origins of Iran's drone capacity and the reasons it has demonstrated, you have to go back to December 4, 2011, when an American drone veered off course and landed undamaged in the Iranian part of Kashmir. The aircraft was the Lockheed Martin RQ-170 Sentinel, the most sophisticated American surveillance drone in use at the time. Denial was the first American reaction. The Obama administration confirmed the loss and requested the return of the entire aircraft after Iran released video footage of it. Iran refused to use technology liberally. It had recently come into its possession for free. Rather, Iranian engineers conducted a thorough analysis of the RQ-170, reverse-engineered it, and developed 3 new drone platforms based on their findings. The first was the Shahed 171, which was an exact replica of the original American design. Iran enhanced and transformed the Shahed 191 into a combat-capable platform. The Shahed, the third and most important of the 3, is the most deadly despite having the most straightforward appearance. 136. Today, a superpower is on the defensive due to this kamikaze drone. Call it extreme frugal living or poetic justice. Iran is retaliating against the United States by utilizing American technologies. However, the narrative has an additional layer that effectively conveys the bizarre circularity of contemporary combat. American forces were so troubled by this drone that the U.S. reverse-engineered the Shahed 136, created a low-cost autonomous attack system called LOCAS, and used it against Iran, is involved in the current operation. America utilized the American drone against Iran after copying the Iranian version. The technology recursion would be truly amazing if the human cost of this battle were not so high. The Shahed drone's engineering design reveals why something so seemingly straightforward has consistently worked so well. The platform can travel 2,000 kilometers at a cruising speed of 180 km/h and weighs about 200 kilos. They are always launched in well-coordinated groupings, especially to exceed the capability for interception. The mathematical likelihood that 1 or 2 will finish their mission is always high, even if some are destroyed. The aircraft can fly up to 13,000 feet thanks to its dual motors. Additionally, a warhead with about 36 kilos of explosive attached in the snout causes a powerful detonation upon impact. Iran used short-range Zulfiqar ballistic missiles, Qayyam ballistic missiles, Shahed 136 kamikazes, and Shahed used 129 surveillance drones in simultaneous packages to target Israeli and American sites. Each package's stopping cost ranged from 20 to 100 times its production cost. The second wave arrived with a radically different character after the first wave degraded interceptor stockpiles around the region. Tel Aviv's complete defensive system was unable to field enough interceptors to block Iran's deployment of hundreds of drones and its Fa-2 hypersonic missile on March 2nd. An entire zone was reduced to ruins by a single hit. Because of the attack's size, Israel made an effort to control the flow of images and video footage, posting its own chosen material on official social media platforms that suggested just minor damage, road craters, and nothing architecturally noteworthy. However, Independent video surfaced that presented a very different narrative. The Fat-2 is the weapon that has caused the greatest devastation. This missile is not a typical ballistic missile. It hits Mach, its target, 15 or 20 times faster than a typical commercial airplane. It makes consistent radar monitoring and interception extremely challenging since it uses liquid fuel, which permits mid-flight trajectory modification. Its operational range is over 10,500 kilometers, encompassing not only Israel, but also the whole Gulf, American regional facilities, and significant areas of the Arabian Sea. In the current regional theater, no interceptor system was created to consistently neutralize a target traveling at that speed with that level of trajectory unpredictability. You must comprehend the program's historical beginnings in order to comprehend how Iran developed this arsenal in the face of 40 years of sanctions, international pressure, and relentless attempts at technological isolation. It was created out of necessity, shaped by first-hand exposure to fragility. Saddam Hussein repeatedly fired Scud missiles into Iranian cities during the Iran-Iraq War in 1984, killing about 5,000 civilians, and almost 20,000 injured from rocket attacks alone. Iran gained an unwavering institutional belief as a result of that experience. A country cannot project deterrence against enemies who are determined to attack civilian populations without restriction or defend its citizens without a sovereign missile capacity. Iran started building its subterranean missile system that same year. It received technical support from China, North Korea, Libya, and Syria in June 1985. By 1990, China was contributing significantly to Iran's program to build solid fuel missiles. The Fate 110 missile, which is now the mainstay of Iran's missile arsenal, was created with direct technical support from China, according to U.S. Treasury Department archives. North Korea gave advice on missile development in 1987. Furthermore, one of Iran's most powerful missiles, the KAM, is basically an Iranian version of the North Korean Hwang-10. Despite severe penalties and 40 years of patience, indigenous Iran created a full missile army with the help of specific overseas collaborations. Iran fired over 550 ballistic missiles and over 1,000 drones at Israel during a 12-day fight last year alone, giving a glimpse of its operational scope. Reports that Israeli interceptor inventories were dangerously low and that American resupply was having difficulty keeping up with consumption rates surfaced even during that exchange. The subsequent ceasefire has never been formally recognized by Iran as anything other than a tactical choice, but Iranian officials have subsequently publicly declared that acknowledging that truce was a strategic mistake since it allowed the U.S. to produce and accumulate more interceptors in anticipation of the next conflict. This leads us to the multi-layered defensive infrastructure that Iran has been steadily undermining since February 28. Additionally, comprehending each layer is crucial to comprehending the effectiveness of the degradation technique. The AR-2 system, which can track and neutralize up to 14 threats at once, is the first layer of Israel's integrated air defense. It is intended to destroy ballistic and short-range missiles in the upper atmosphere at a height of around 50 kilometers, impacting incoming targets at Mach 9. If a missile makes it past that layer, it comes into contact with David's sling, which is designed to use hit-to-kill stunning interceptors to destroy threats with a range of 40 to 300 kilometers. Incoming missiles using only kinetic impact and no explosive warheads. The Iron Dome, which intercepts short-range rockets and drones in the 4 to 70 kilometer engagement envelope if something breaches both of those layers, is the last line. Its targeting algorithm identifies and prioritizes only projectiles calculated to land in populated areas, allowing those deemed to land in open zones to fall unintercepted. All of these systems are supported by the American THAAD battery, which can intercept ballistic missiles within and outside of the atmosphere at short, medium, and long ranges. Each launched interceptor round costs between $12 and $15 million. Instead of using brute force intrusion, Iran's strategy for taking down this entire architecture is based on the idea of sophisticated systemic exploitation. Every tier of the defensive system must function at peak efficiency due to the salvo firing approach, which simultaneously launches hundreds of drones, low-altitude cruise missiles, and high-velocity ballistic missiles in a single synchronized package, capacity concurrently. While the real high-value missiles pursue their targets, the drones act as decoys, consuming interceptors, warhead fragmentation technology, and decoy flare systems, false thermal signatures fired with missiles that trick interceptor guidance systems while the actual warhead separates and moves in a different direction, are layered on top of this. The primary warhead is finished by the time an interceptor's targeting computer solves the discrimination issue. Its course. Iran then introduced the last component of the degrading approach, which drastically alters the engagement's overall calculations. Interceptors are operationally blind in the absence of targeting data from radar systems. As a result, Iran started deliberately attacking and demolishing the radar infrastructure that powers the entire defense system. Iranian forces have totally destroyed the $1 billion, $100 million American-invested ANFPS-132 phased array radar in Qatar, which could scan the sky over 5,000 kilometers. Strikes. The UAE's Thaadi radar system is no longer operational. One installation at a time, the American Defense Network's eyes in the area are being eliminated. The radar architecture is being disassembled on one side. Conversely, America's allies' interceptor stockpiles are being depleted more quickly than they can be refilled. In light of this, Trump is now talking of aiding Kurdish rebel organizations within Iran and working toward a regime change goal because precise air power alone has clearly failed to meet the campaign's operational objectives. When asked this question, the Kurdish insurgent organizations have said that they do not want to be used as tools of American foreign policy, that they do not want American weapons, and that they will not be dragged into a battle on Washington-defined terms. Since the beginning of the operation, there has been a noticeable change in Trump's public demeanor. The first comment's optimism has given place to considerably more measured language. American diplomatic posts are closing one after the other around the Gulf. Gulf states are publicly questioning why America caused this predicament and why the biggest military power in the world cannot ensure the fundamental safety of its own citizens stationed throughout the area. Veterans who are publicly questioning why American forces are involved in what they refer to as Israel's war are among the protests that are taking place within the United States. If from the report is providing you with the kind of analysis this situation merits, one that explains mechanisms rather than merely reporting occurrences, please subscribe immediately and forward this video to anyone who is attempting to comprehend what is truly going on beneath the daily cycle of headlines. This is the question that now looms over the entire dispute. What will Iran do if America is unable to halt its missile program and destroy the launch infrastructure quickly enough to stop more strikes? Thrawn has said clearly where it stands. Until Iran will keep bombing the economic zones of any neighboring nation that houses American military infrastructure if the bombardment of Iranian territory by the United States and Israel ceases. Hormuz's Strait is still essentially obstructed. 20 to 25% of the world's supply of LNG and oil passes through that route. A prolonged blockade's financial effects are not anticipated. Global commodity markets are already recording them. Furthermore, Iran has not yet implemented what might be its best system. The K-Bar-Shaychan, a fourth-generation sophisticated ballistic missile with dimensions of 13 km in length, 112 m in diameter, and roughly 20 tons in weight, is referred to as the pinnacle of the Iranian ballistic missile program informally. Its official range is 2,000–4,000 kilometers. It has a 1,500–1,800 kilogram warhead capacity. It reaches Mach 8 during atmospheric re-entry and Mach 16 outside the atmosphere in terms of terminal velocity. American forces are already searching for and eliminating this same mechanism through increased bombing of Iranian territory, because the operational aim now is to destroy the launch infrastructure before the weapon is used. Even in that endeavor, the campaign's intelligence component has resulted in its own remarkable setbacks. Israeli jets, multi-million-dollar cutting-edge fighter aircraft with artificial intelligence and state-of-the-art targeting systems, attacked what seemed to be planes on the tarmac at Trey. The objectives proved to be decoys painted. Israel had used precise weapons against concrete paint. Precision-guided missiles, $20 kamikaze drones, and painted decoys are just a few examples of what Iran has accomplished that should be properly and impartially comprehended. The most costly and technologically advanced military alliance in contemporary history has been compelled to spend billions of dollars responding to cardboard and canvas to deplete priceless interceptor stockpiles against outdated inventory and to observe the disassembly of its regional radar architecture. Instead of symmetrically matching American capabilities, clever asymmetric thinking was used to turn the cost structure of American military might against itself. It is not the outcome of this particular fight, the approach, or the proof that strategic thought can routinely outperform the most costly weaponry ever developed, that other nations are currently observing and learning. If the way of thinking is clear enough, patient enough, and based on an honest enough evaluation of the adversary's true weaknesses rather than its declared invincibilities. Subscribe to From Report, turn on the alert bell, and let us know in a comment what you believe this conflict's next stage will entail. Because every stage in this story will require precisely this level of intellectual depth to fully comprehend, it is far from over.